Among the several hundred city-states of ancient Greece, Sparta stands out for its dedicated warrior society. Its men are disciplined and battle-ready, focused on a loyal dedication to the military. The Ephors, 5 elected administrators of the Spartan government, fear that their king, Anaxandrides II, would fail to produce an heir to the throne. His wife has not given him a son, so the Ephors pressure him to take on a second wife. Their worries turn out to be unfounded, though, as both wives bear the king healthy sons. From the second wife, the son Cleomenes is born, and from the first, 2 boys named Dorius and Leonidas are born. They are all seen as strong candidates for the throne, because Anaxandrides II is of the Aegeid line, a dynasty said to have descended from the demigod Heracles. Ultimately, however, when its king dies in the year 520 BC, Sparta turns to the eldest son, Cleomenes, to inherit his father's title. Outraged for not being chosen himself, Dorius abandons Sparta to set up a colony of his own in Africa. In contrast, his younger brother, Leonidas, remains faithful to his Spartan discipline under Cleomenes as king. Leonidas has a proper Spartan upbringing, trained from childhood to become a warrior armed with a spear and shield. He and his fellow soldiers specialize in a battle formation known as phalanx. By overlapping their shields and raising their blades high, they create an impenetrable wall. In a frontal assault, this makes the Spartans invincible. Sadly, the phalanx is especially vulnerable to attacks from the side and rear. Regardless, Leonidas is adept at defense, enduring head-on assaults to then retaliate with a fierce counterattack. He serves under his half-brother on a handful of military campaigns, including a war with Athens and the war against Argos. A violent chain of events ultimately brings Cleomenes to madness and his death in the year 490 BC. With no male heir to succeed him, rule of Sparta shifted to Leonidas. Accepting this kingship, Leonidas married Cleomenes' daughter, Gorgo, making her the queen of Sparta. One might describe most Spartan men as hot-blooded idiots who prefer brawn to intellect. Leonidas proves to be the exception, taking on the difficult task of administering a nation of barbarians. This works well, because even as an intellectual, he too is still very much a barbaric warrior in his own right. It helps him relate to his subjects, while also providing them keen insight on the battlefield. Leonidas proclaims to them that while it is admirable to train diligently in pursuit of victory, ghosts have no muscles, so the value of that training only pertains to the living. As such, he recommends both study and physical training. Ancient Greece is known for its internal conflicts, but its separate city-states are also known for banding together in the face of invasion. The military might of the Persians, considered to be the descendants of the hero Perseus, serves as one of Greece's greatest threats. Just a decade prior, the Persian king Darius I launched an initial attack, only to be defeated by Athens at the Battle of Marathon. Darius' son, Xerxes I, now mounts an even greater assault. Demanding control of their harvests and territories, Xerxes seeks to subjugate Greece's city-states. Many of them give in to his demands, but Athens and Sparta refuse, forming a united front to defend themselves against Persia's encroaching presence. When Sparta is first asked to join this endeavor, its people seek guidance from the oracle at Delphi, who presents them with a foreboding prophecy. For you, inhabitants of wide-wide Sparta, either your great and glorious city must be wasted by Persian men, or if not that, then the bound of Lacedaemon must mourn a dead king from Heracles' line. The might of bulls or lions will not restrain him with opposing strength, for he has the might of Zeus. I declare that he will not be restrained until he utterly tears apart one of these. The implication is clear. Either Leonidas give his life fighting Xerxes, or his city falls to the Persians' conquest. Undeterred by this prophecy, the good king prepares for war, setting his sights on the coastal pass of Thermopylae. Known as the Hot Gates for its sulfur springs, this narrow passage serves as an ideal place to funnel the Persian forces. Xerxes cannot reach Sparta without first traversing this gap. Technically, it can be bypassed by a trail over the mountains, but this route is known only by the locals as a well-kept secret. Leonidas puts his faith in Thermopylae because he knows his armed forces will be severely outnumbered, in need of every possible advantage. This is due to Xerxes arriving at the Hot Gates in August of the year 480 BC. It is an inconvenient time for Sparta, as during this time the people typically hold their sacred Carneia festival. In celebration of the ram-horned god, Apollo Carneos, Spartans put down their weapons and offer sacrifices for the sake of a good harvest. To make matters worse, the year's Carneia festival overlaps with the festival of Zeus, or the Olympic Games, making it difficult for Leonidas to mobilize a large army. His task is to lead an advanced unit to hold off Xerxes until the Olympiad's conclusion, knowing that a much larger force will arrive later. This leaves Sparta's king with a force of 7,000 Greeks, only 300 of them being hardened Spartan warriors. While small, this brave army marches on, hoping to bolster morale among the other city-states on the verge of submitting to Persia's demands. Estimates gather that Leonidas' mere 7,000 men are sent to hold back Persian forces numbering in the hundreds of thousands. At Thermopylae, Xerxes waits for 4 days, hoping the Greeks will disperse willingly. On the 5th, he launches his assault. Despite the harrowing odds, Leonidas prevails, repelling their enemy for 2 days. Within this time, his army kills nearly 10,000 Persians, including 2 of Xerxes' brothers. Misfortune strikes on the 7th day, however, when all of Greece is betrayed by the greed of a single man. Ephialtes of Trachis, one of Thermopylae's locals, is tempted by Persian treasures into divulging the secret route through the mountains. With this knowledge, Xerxes sneaks in soldiers from the rear, dismantling the otherwise indestructible phalanx. As the tide of battle sways, Leonidas decides to send away most of his army through a strategic retreat. He realizes that Xerxes will have to be defeated in a later battle, and aims to sacrifice himself as the prophecy foretold in order to buy those incoming forces as much time and men as he can. He and his 300 Spartans remain with the help of 900 Helots, 400 Thebans, and 700 Thespians who refuse to abandon him. Fittingly, his men wouldn't back down even if he asked them to. Addressing those that still stand at Thermopylae, Leonidas shouts, "We will die here. That is our fate. A general is given his soldiers' lives, and a general must, in return, give everything he has to bring victory to them. However, this is a battle we cannot win. This is a battle which leads to tomorrow, one which will bring our brethren victory as they step over our corpses. But is it okay for us to take this path? Do any of you not value your own lives?" The soldiers laughed off my worries with all their hearts. "Very well, let us protect this gate. For honor, for courage, for love, we protect, we fight, and we die." Of the 300 Spartans accompanying their king, only 2 of them are absent from the battle. One is Pantides, sent by Leonidas on an embassy to Thessaly. He fails to return to Thermopylae in time and hangs himself out of shame. The other is Aristodemus. He and his fellow soldier Eurytus suffer from blindness. As such, Leonidas orders them to return home, and initially they comply. Eurytus, however, decides to turn back, charging into the fray despite his condition. Aristodemus follows orders, returning to Sparta as the second survivor. In the face of Eurytus's reckless bravery, Aristodemus becomes labeled as a coward. The remaining Spartans fight to the bitter end, resorting to using their bare hands as their weapons break. Nearly 400 Thebans surrender, but the Spartans do not falter. Ultimately, however, Leonidas' spear fails to reach Xerxes. The stoic Spartan king and his most hardened warriors fall to the Persian army. As an insult, Xerxes has Leonidas beheaded and crucified. This damning act serves as a gesture of karmic justice, because while the Persians claim victory this day, they do not endure the war itself. Leonidas' sacrifice buys enough time for the allied Greek forces to retaliate tenfold. In the coming battles, Xerxes is defeated and his men are repelled. In this regard, the king of Sparta and his men saved the entire Greek world. There are no regrets, embellished when Simonides the poet carves the following into their gravesite. "Travelers, please let me convey what the Spartans wished for. They have defended their agreement, died a noble death here and departed for the afterlife. Much of what the world knows of Leonidas comes from the writings of Herodotus and other historians that chronicle the Battle of Thermopylae. The brave king's legend and historic fame are recorded into the throne of heroes. In the modern era, humanity is on the verge of extinction at the hands of Getia. To restore the human order, the Chaldea Security Organization sends its only master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, to resolve various singularities across time. While Leonidas is meant to aid in this endeavor as a heroic spirit, he is first summoned by Chaldea's enemy, Lev Liner Flauros, into a singularity of ancient Rome. Obeying his new master, Leonidas initially opposes Ritsuka's party as they return to Rome from the Shaped Isle. Here, he proves to be a formidable adversary. As a servant, Leonidas has a battle continuation skill that reduces his mortality. Even when struck by an otherwise fatal blow, he continues the fight in a stubborn resistance. His war cry bolsters his morale while striking fear into his enemies. Despite this, Ritsuka has access to a plethora of legendary heroes, who collectively strike Leonidas down. Fortunately, his valor is redeemed when he is later summoned by Gilgamesh, the king of heroes, to protect the Babylonian city of Uruk from an invasion of demonic beasts. He is assigned to train soldiers and defend the city's northern wall, and it's in part thanks to his defensive prowess that Uruk endures for 6 months, long enough for Ritsuka to reach this more dangerous singularity. As such, Leonidas is able to greet Ritsuka amicably at Chaldea's embassy. Ritsuka aids Uruk's citizens for a month, while also training under Leonidas and his men. Of all Ritsuka's allies, Leonidas takes a special liking to Mashu Kyrielite, who diligently attends his lectures and sparring matches. This, in turn, strengthens his own resolve, encouraging him to train even harder so as to not disappoint her. Eventually, Gilgamesh trusts Ritsuka enough to officially cooperate. The nearby city of Nippur is overrun by demonic beasts, and Ritsuka is asked to take part in a rescue operation for Nippur's citizens. Leonidas strategizes the mission, sending Ritsuka's party in as one of 2 separate units. To their horror, when they arrive, Nippur has already fallen, with its last survivors sent to the demonic beast's lair to be used as materials. Their enemy laid a trap, and Ritsuka steps right into it. An enemy servant, Kingu, calls upon the leader of the demonic beasts, a snake-like woman he refers to as Tiamat. From her various serpents, this monster fires off beams of energy that petrify their victims. With the mission failed, Ritsuka's party flees back to the northern wall empty-handed. The monstrous Tiamat follows in pursuit, but is halted by Leonidas. Knowing full well that Uruk's forces cannot withstand the monster's attacks, he stands his ground, recreating his legendary defense of Sparta. He invokes his noble phantasm, Thermopylae Enomotia, guardian of the Hot Gates, which calls upon his 300 brave soldiers to aid him. The more his men endure in the face of adversity, the stronger their joint counterattack becomes. Furthermore, as a descendant of Heracles, and thereby Zeus, Leonidas sees right through Tiamat's bluff. No, this serpentine creature isn't the primordial goddess of Mesopotamia, but rather the cursed Gorgon. Medusa, after suffering Athena's spiteful envy, became a bloodthirsty monster with mystic eyes of petrification. Knowing the truth, Leonidas reveals Gorgon's identity to his allies. As a heated onslaught ravages his resilient force, he retaliates by hurling his spear with enough force to pierce Gorgon's rigid body. Regretfully, his own body does not emerge unscathed. The curse of Gorgon's mystic eyes leaves him petrified, dying in his effort to protect the city. Just as in legend, this proves effective when Gorgon retreats, giving Uruk the chance to fight another day. Without the aid of Leonidas, Chaldea could never hope to prevail. Ritsuka resolves the Babylonian singularity, and needing help once more, Leonidas later joins the fight against Getia at Solomon's Grand Temple of Time. Eventually, when Ritsuka summons him as a proper Chaldean servant, Leonidas rises to the occasion. For the sake of humanity, he helps train Ritsuka and their servants as part of a rigorous boot camp. The man who once protected his kingdom with 300 of his finest warriors now protects a single mage capable of saving the entire planet. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to Otaku Daikun, and
Most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
you can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
Celebrate your fandom.
I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. Video Gamer 75, Stephen Elak, Samuel Gersten, Otaku Mom, Jens Bauman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Freebrick, Cosmonaut, RNGer Shuffles 1498, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Johnny Tsunami, Link Pendrago, Brandon Baker, Observer Bellis, Caitlin P., Vladimirovna, Succubus Sakura, Normace, Jonathan Padua, The Taz 96, and SF Giants fan Mike. Thank you all so much.